Women don't choose you just based on your looks alone or your stats on some paper card. Women base their attraction on how you make them feel. And if you understand this, this will completely change the game for you. I remember when I first understood this information, it completely shifted how I saw attraction with a woman. And today I'm going to talk to you about how you can make them your best option. So, welcome to the Great Men Are Built channel. My name is Matthew Manning, and I help shy, introverted men in their 30s get into a long-term relationship. So, I'm going to break down some concepts today that you can understand and wrap your head around. So, the first concept I need you to understand is this idea called hypergamy. Now, hypergamy, there's a lot to be said on that. I'm not going to go too deep into that. But in simple form, hypergamy is based upon what's called dating selection. So if you look at tribes, or back in the day, like in cavemen, cavewoman times, or if you look at animals, basically what the females are wanting to do is they're wanting to either date their level or mate with their level or mate upwards. So in simple terms, it's the female instinct to date upwards. Now, this is something biological, something you got to understand about this journey when you're learning to talk to women and attract women and get into relationships, is you have to understand from a biological evolutionary way to understand basically what attraction is. So the first concept I need you to understand is hypergamy. Now, when you understand hypergamy, you understand that hypergamy doesn't just operate on stats, right? If he's this tall, he does this, he does this. No, it operates under how you make her feel. And that is so important. Attraction comes down to how you make her feel. That's why you'll see times, how is she with him? It's like, well, it's how he makes her feel, which is so important. So many guys think, oh, I gotta uh, logically pursue her by buying her a drink or having money. And those things do help at times, but it's how you make her feel. So one of the key concepts to make her your best option is you need to make her feel something, okay? And how hypergamy works is it's based off of evaluation of your social status, okay? So this is why social status is very important in terms of attraction. Now, how status works is it's kind of a strange one, okay? So they found there's this thing inside of our brain called the winner effect. And it's basically based off of, if guys feel more confident in the environment, they have this thing called the winner effect, which activates a part of their brain which makes them more confident. And then when you're more confident, all your sub cues are displaying more so in an attractive way. So you're displaying higher status. So that means your shoulders are maybe more relaxed, your vocal variety, your tone, your eye contact, all these types of things are displaying that you're more attractive. And this completely alters how it makes her feel. So there's a key point that I want you to understand. It's not what you say, it's what you display. And attraction comes down to your behavior. And so what happens through hypergamy, if you have social status in the room. Now, this is a key. I'm going to tell you a hack. You don't need to have social status in the room. Look, I've been in a lot of rooms where I do not have the status, but I come in there and display my sub-communicative behavior, and that changes how they make them feel. I lived in Vegas. I set up a lot of rich guy tables and all this type of stuff, and I definitely, in that regards, in terms of finances, didn't have status, but then the women would come towards me because I had status in the room, right? So women base their attraction, they evaluate you based on your social position. That's why having your sub cues, your behavior all on point is very important. And how this happens, how does this specifically happen? Well, it happens through your masculine presence. So that's why a woman, as soon as you walk into a room, she can feel your presence, which is fantastic. It's actually a really good thing that she feels your presence. And that's what builds attraction. And the next point that I want you to understand is why pursuing her or overly pursuing your woman actually instantly loses attraction. Today I'm in Nelson, BC. We were just at a hot spring, and it was really funny to sit there with my wife. Obviously, I'm into this psychology and breaking things down. And there's a group of men and 3 men, 2 women sitting across the pool from us. And something that you could see, and my wife picked up, I always test stuff with my wife. I always see, like, hey, what are you noticing? What do you observe? What is the woman feeling? What are you feeling? And one of the things we saw was this one guy, she could pick up, and it was quick. As soon as he walked in the pool, she's like, oh, he's too needy, he's overly pursuing her. And it was like, it's so fascinating to break this down. This is my job. This is what I do. I study people. I study this stuff. It's so fascinating. So what happens when you become overly pursuant of this woman? What starts to happen is it shows low status. And how this happens is overly accessible shows low status. Remember, coming back to the hypergamy, natural dating selection, this comes down to the reason why this happens is for her attraction levels in her cave woman brain. So you need to speak to that. So if you're displaying needy behavior, you're coming off as low status. So we don't want to do that. And when you do that, right, when you're overly pursuing her, it kills attraction. So it's a bit of a dance, right? It's a bit of a play. That's why, like, when I coach men, I teach the science and the art. So I can give you the principles, I give you the fundamentals, but you got to paint your brush yourself. So there's a science and art to this. That's why it's a bit of a play. And the one thing that I think men mess up a lot is they make the mistake that attention equals attraction, and that's just not the case. We, again, coming back to that situation in the hot springs with the group, there's another guy that you could tell he was in the friend zone, and the way that she was interacting with him, this woman, she liked this guy over here, he wasn't giving her any attention, and it was, and you can see her body language, her body language was facing him, but she was talking to this guy, and you could tell that this guy was in the friend zone, and she was giving him attention because this guy wasn't giving her attention. She wanted this guy, and this guy didn't want her. This guy wanted her, but she didn't want him. So she was just being friendly with him, but her body language was faced this way, but she was talking like this to the guy. So the mistake that men make is they think that attention equals attraction. That's just not the case. All right? You have to make her feel something. And so one of the things you want to understand is building genuine high value through skill stacking. And this is why I coach men. And this is why it's a journey. It's not just an overnight thing, right? Think about this. You might have years of patterns and things that you've been doing that hasn't been supporting your higher self or higher value. This is why I call it Great Men Are Built channel, because it takes time to build yourself. As we go over a bit of a longer journey, right? And if that's something you're interested in, click the link below. Let's jump on a call. Let's see if it's a fit to join our community. And we got a community of men all over the world working on this stuff. And that becomes very powerful, right? Because then you have accountability and all that stuff as well. So click the link below if that's you, if you want to start stacking your skills out. So how we do this is, what we want to do is we want to start skill stacking. So that means you want to start working on your communication. That's a must, okay? That's a non-negotiable. You want to separate yourself in this world, you got to work on your communication. You have to work on it. And that, what I love about this stuff, especially being a man, is you can, I mean, as a human being in general, but as a man, you can upgrade yourself. You can do upgrades, which is awesome. So work on your communication. And the thing is we need to develop competence across multiple domains. So I'll give you an example. My wife and I just took a walk here. We're in this beautiful place. I love it here. Look at the mountain ranges and everything. But we were talking about it, and I like these 5 levels, the 5 F's for life: fitness, finance, faith, friends, and family. Okay? And she said, when we met, you were over leveraged in faith. So spirituality. But there's all these other domains. And I was in an unhealthy state. My finances were a wreck. I was broke when I met my wife. My family, I wasn't even talking to them. And my friend group, same thing. So we need to have multiple competences across multiple domains, and it's a must now. It actually is a must. So a lot of you that are watching this, you're probably quite developed in your finances or your career, but you've not worked on your social life. You've not worked on your friends and these types of things. So we need to work on multiple domains in order to be a high value man. And what's just to happen over time, which is kind of cool, happens quite quickly, is you start skill stacking, which is awesome. So that's the thing we need to do, is we need to develop competence across multiple domains. Then here's the thing. A woman or people can feel, are you the real thing or are you not? You can't fake it. You know why? Because people can feel the conviction in your voice. When you talk about what you do, they can feel the confidence, they can feel the conviction, and it comes out in your sub cues. It's not what you say, it's what you display. So it's so important that you're congruent, and I teach this to men, congruency. It's so important that you're congruent to who you say you are. That means your words match your inner world. Key point there. Your words match your inner world. You have to be doing this stuff. It's not something you can fake, because people can pick up on it. That's why when you get around sometimes influencers, these types of things in real life, you're like kind of disappointed. I remember I was just talking to my buddy, and we were talking about one of the guys he listened to on YouTube all the time. And he was like, oh, I met him in person, and the guy was just totally different. I must have listened to hours and hours and hours of his content. And when I went and met him, he flew to Las Vegas to go meet that guy. He's like, I stopped watching his content after that. And I hope if you're watching this, you come with me in real life and you're like, wow, you're the exact same. Obviously, I'm speaking a bit quicker to keep your attention. The pace that I'm doing. When you speak to camera, by the way, you got to speak about 70% with more volume, more hand gestures, more facial reactions in order to keep someone engaged. But when you come around me in person, I'm hopefully just going to be like 20% less of this, that's why I film these videos actually in these places, because I'm like, I love it here. I want to be here. I want to show other people this. I love being in this. I'm here anyways. This is something that, by the way, when we talk about lifestyle design and you're designing your ultimate life, one of the things that I listen to for Ty Lopez on information on social media is, you want to do things that you're already doing. Like, just make it an easy swing into the thing that you're already doing. And this is important when you're designing your life, because having a great lifestyle is actually a very attractive thing. It makes you more relaxed. It makes you more comfortable. So that's a main thing. So don't fake your skills. And the main thing I'm going to leave with in this is, when you are your authentic self, this is why my course is called Authentic Attraction. And it's based on LTR strategy, long-term relationship strategy. That means if you are wanting to start a family, you are wanting to get married, you should get in this course. And it's part of the community. When you join our community, you get access to this course. You work through the material on your own time, and then you come in and we do training together on calls. So you've got this whole mechanism going. I call it the LXR method. You need to learn the experience. You need to go out and experience the experience. And then you come back to me and we refine it. And we get it, because there's a lot of, each guy has certain nuances, which is why you can't just learn this through YouTube. Otherwise, don't you think you would have? So start creating action. Click the link below. Let's jump on a call. Let's see if you're a fit for this community. But being authentic, your authentic self, you can't replace that. That's irreplaceable. So you must be your authentic self, whatever version that is. Now, I have sometimes questions when guys ask me that. Well, if I'm my authentic self, why am I not getting any traction? Yes, there's an authentic version, which is the 1.0 version of yourself, but there's an authentic version, which is the higher version of yourself. We have 3 versions of self: lower self, mid self, and higher self, and all are operating on the same plane, which are all existing. And ideally, our lower self, we're raising that version of ourselves, constantly actualizing the 2.0 version of ourselves. And if you can transform into the 2.0 version of yourself that's authentic, and you get more and more comfortable, because you wouldn't believe the amount of people that are, their inner world to their outer world does not match up, it creates incongruence. So main point you want to understand, be congruent. You have to be authentic. It creates the most highest levels of attraction, specifically when it comes to long-term relationships. Because what will happen down the line is, if you do what I did with the STR mating strategy, which is the one night stand theory, what's going to happen is you're going to start getting into relationships, and that version of you is not going to be able to sustain because it's based off a persona, which is exhausting, and you get persona fatigue. Then you're going to start being your authentic self, like I did in relationships. And then she's going to be like, well, what the heck is this guy? We don't want that. Let's solve that now. You don't need to do this STR mating strategy. Go into long term, get a wife, get a family, go after what you want. So, with that, this is how you become the best option for her. All right, take care from beautiful BC, Canada. Nelson, hot springs are literally just that way. Been soaking up the good vibes. All right, much love.